Have you ever wondered what would happen if Spain's future queen faced a national crisis before officially wearing the crown? What if one unexpected moment forced Princess Leonor to make a decision that even King Felipe never saw coming? Today's story imagines exactly that. While inspired by public figures, everything you're about to hear is entirely fictional, created for storytelling and entertainment. It began on what appeared to be an ordinary autumn morning at the royal palace in Madrid. Princess Leonor had just finished reviewing preparations for a youth leadership conference she was scheduled to attend later that afternoon. The event was designed to highlight innovation, volunteerism, and community resilience across Spain. Hundreds of young delegates had traveled from every region, and the media was already gathering outside. Inside the palace, King Felipe was holding meetings with senior government officials on unrelated constitutional matters. Everything seemed calm, until a phone call changed the atmosphere completely. An unexpected emergency unfolded involving severe storms that had disrupted transportation and communications across several regions. Airports faced delays, highways were temporarily closed, and thousands of families found themselves stranded. Although emergency services responded immediately, confusion spread rapidly on social media. Rumors began circulating faster than verified information. Within minutes, journalists were asking whether members of the royal family would address the nation. King Felipe remained focused on receiving official briefings before making any public appearance. His advisors urged patience. "We need confirmed information," one advisor insisted. "No public statements until we know exactly what's happening." It was the safest constitutional approach. Meanwhile, Princess Leonor watched television coverage from another room. She noticed something different. People weren't asking for dramatic speeches. They simply wanted reassurance. Young volunteers, students, parents, and local organizations were desperately looking for reliable information and encouragement. Leonor quietly turned to one of her assistants. "What are people saying online?" The assistant hesitated. "They're confused, Your Royal Highness. They're helping each other, but many don't know what information to trust." Leonor remained silent for several seconds. Then she asked a simple question. "What can we do without interfering with official emergency services?" Nobody had an immediate answer. The palace traditionally avoided acting before government agencies completed their work. Still, Leonor believed there was another role she could play. Not political, not executive, human. She proposed recording a short message encouraging citizens to follow official emergency instructions, support vulnerable neighbors, avoid spreading rumors, and recognize the work of first responders. Some advisors immediately objected. "It's too early. It could create constitutional complications. We should wait for His Majesty." The discussion became tense. Leonor listened carefully, then calmly responded, "I'm not replacing anyone. I'm supporting Spain." The room fell silent. Her words carried unexpected confidence. Word of her proposal soon reached King Felipe. He requested that Leonor join him immediately. As she entered his office, advisors watched nervously. King Felipe looked serious. He asked one direct question. "Why do you believe this is necessary?" Leonor answered honestly, "Because leadership sometimes begins with listening. People already have professionals solving the emergency. But they also need hope." The king remained quiet. Several long seconds passed. Finally, he asked another question. "What exactly would you say?" Leonor handed him a page she had written herself. It wasn't dramatic. There were no promises, no politics, no attempts to direct emergency operations. Instead, it simply thanked rescue teams, encouraged calm, reminded citizens to verify information through official channels, and praised communities helping one another. King Felipe slowly finished reading. He looked up at his daughter, then back down at the page. For the first time that day, he said nothing, not because he disagreed, because he was genuinely surprised. The maturity in those few paragraphs reminded him that Leonor was no longer preparing to become queen someday. She was already developing the judgment expected of one. After several moments, he quietly nodded. "Let's make one adjustment," he suggested, adding recognition for healthcare workers and local volunteers. Leonor smiled. "That's even better." The message was recorded within the hour. Simple, calm, respectful, no dramatic music, no palace spectacle, just Princess Leonor speaking directly to the people. She encouraged unity, patience, kindness, responsibility. Within hours, the fictional message spread across Spain. Instead of fueling speculation, it helped redirect attention toward verified emergency information. Volunteer organizations reported increased support. Community centers received more donations. Young people organized assistance for elderly residents unable to travel. News commentators praised the message's careful tone. Many noted that it complemented official government communications rather than competing with them. Inside the palace, however, reactions remained mixed. Some advisors privately admitted they had underestimated Leonor. Others worried that public expectations for the future queen had suddenly become much higher. King Felipe listened to every opinion, but he offered very few comments. Late that evening, after emergency conditions had begun improving, father and daughter met once more. The palace had finally grown quiet. Outside, rain continued falling over Madrid. King Felipe stood near the window. Leonor entered carrying updated reports from volunteer organizations. He accepted them, then placed them aside. Instead of discussing logistics, he asked something personal. "Were you afraid?" Leonor answered truthfully. "Yes, I was afraid of saying too much. And even more afraid of saying too little." The king smiled gently. "That's exactly why today's message mattered. Leadership," he explained, "isn't measured by how loudly someone speaks during a crisis. It's measured by knowing when words help, and when silence serves better." Leonor reflected on those words, then admitted something she hadn't shared earlier. "When everyone started arguing about protocol, I almost gave up." King Felipe looked surprised. "What changed your mind?" She answered without hesitation. "I imagined how frightened families must have been. If even a few words could help them stay calm, it was worth trying." For several seconds, neither spoke. The king simply looked at his daughter. The little girl he once held during official ceremonies had become a thoughtful young woman capable of balancing compassion with responsibility. It wasn't perfection, it wasn't heroism, it was steady judgment, and somehow, that impressed him more than any grand speech ever could. In the weeks that followed, fictional analysts continued discussing Leonor's role during the crisis. Some praised her emotional intelligence. Others admired her restraint. Many young Spaniards described her message as reassuring precisely because it avoided dramatic language. Schools invited students to discuss responsible communication during emergencies. Leadership seminars even referenced the fictional example as a reminder that trust is built through honesty rather than spectacle. Leonor herself refused to claim any personal success. Whenever asked, she redirected praise toward emergency workers, volunteers, and ordinary citizens. "The real heroes," she would fictionalize saying, "are the people who help each other when cameras aren't watching." That answer only increased public admiration, because true leadership rarely seeks applause. Months later, during another palace event, King Felipe watched Leonor greet visitors with the same calm confidence she had shown during the crisis. One advisor quietly approached him. "She's changing." The king nodded. "No, I think we're simply seeing who she has become." The advisor smiled. "And does that surprise you?" King Felipe looked across the room toward Leonor. After a thoughtful pause, he answered softly, "Every parent hopes their child will someday exceed expectations. I just didn't expect to witness it so soon." And perhaps that became the greatest lesson of all. Crises don't always reveal the strongest voice. Sometimes they reveal the calmest heart. The person willing to listen before speaking. To encourage instead of alarm. To unite instead of divide. In this fictional story, Princess Leonor didn't solve the emergency herself. She didn't command rescue teams. She didn't change history with dramatic decisions. Instead, she reminded people that dignity, empathy, and careful words can become powerful forms of leadership during uncertain times. Maybe that's why King Felipe was left speechless. Not because of one remarkable speech, but because he realized Spain's future queen had quietly demonstrated the character that speeches alone could never create. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this fictional royal story inspired by public figures, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in Princess Leonor's position? Let us know, and we'll see you in the next story.